3 years. That's how long Ava gave him. 3 whole years of stolen kisses in dark hallways, of slipping out before the sun rose so no one would ever know, of watching him walk past her in the office as if she was nothing but another employee. In the room, and now she was done. The last time she left his penthouse, her heels clicking against the cold marble floor like a countdown, she didn't turn back. No tearful goodbye, no whispered promises, just silence, the kind that doesn't echo, it swallows. Ezra Cole, CEO of Cole Industries, didn't even realize she was truly gone until 3 days later, when his assistant handed him a resignation letter with her name at the bottom. It was clean, professional, too professional. That alone told him she meant every word. "I won't be coming back, please don't look for me." That was all she'd written in her own handwriting. He stared at the letter for a long time, as if her words might change the longer he looked. But they didn't. And neither did the hollow feeling in his chest that he kept telling himself wasn't panic. She had always been there. Every day, in that soft voice, that shy smile, her ridiculous coffee order that made his assistant sigh every morning. Her presence was like the scent of lavender in spring, subtle but always there. But now, gone. He leaned back in his chair, suddenly aware of how sterile his office felt. Everything looked the same, but something was missing, and he hated how quickly he knew what it was. It was her. Ava Lane had walked into his company 3 years ago as nothing more than an intern. Smart. Quiet. From a small town no one had heard. She was wearing shoes that had clearly seen better days, and a blazer that didn't quite fit. But her eyes, those eyes, were filled with fire. She didn't ask for attention. She earned it, and she had earned his. It started with late-night meetings, then dinners, then the kind of closeness that blurred lines. But there were rules, his rules. "No one can know," he told her once. "Why?" she whispered. "Because I can't afford weakness, Ava. Not in this world." So she became his secret, his warmth in private, his stranger in public. She never demanded more, not at first, but over time, the silence started cutting deeper than words ever could. He should have seen it coming. Ava didn't cry when she left, but she did cry the night before. She'd laid in his bed, his arms wrapped around her like they actually belonged together, and she asked, "Will I ever be anything more than your secret?" He didn't answer. He just kissed her shoulder and pulled her closer. And that silence? It was the loudest answer she'd ever heard. Now he sat in his $1 million office, staring at the space she used to sit in, wondering how someone so small could leave such a massive hole behind. And the strangest part? He didn't feel like himself. The headaches were back, the chest tightness he hadn't felt in years. He used to think it was anxiety, but Ava had a way of calming him without even trying. Her voice, her laugh, hell, even her humming while she worked had been enough to keep his demons at bay. But now they were back, loud, angry, and she wasn't here to fight them off. Ezra stood, walked over to her desk, and opened the drawer she always kept locked. Inside, a photo. Not of them. He never let her take any. It was of a little boy and girl in a sunflower field, and behind it, a journal. He hesitated, then opened it. Page 1. 3 years, and not once did he call me his. His throat tightened. For the first time in years, Ezra Cole, the man with everything, realized he had nothing that actually mattered. He needed her, not just emotionally, not just for the ache in his chest. No, she was his cure, and he might have just lost her forever. The bus rattled down the highway, the windows foggy from the cold air outside, and the weight of breath from tired souls inside. Ava sat alone, tucked in a corner seat with a small duffel bag in her lap. It was everything she owned that didn't remind her of him. She hadn't cried, not since the morning she dropped the resignation letter on his desk while he was still in meetings. But now, as city lights blurred into country roads and familiar landscapes, a single tear slipped down her cheek. She wiped it quickly. She didn't leave Ezra to hurt him. She left because she was hurting. There was something suffocating about loving a man who pretended he didn't love you back. For 3 years she gave her everything to him, her time, her youth, her loyalty. And what did she get in return? A spot in his bed, but never by his side. People in the office whispered about the nobody from nowhere who somehow worked late every night, always in his meetings, always near his floor. But they didn't know. No one did. Because Ezra made sure of that. He said it was for her protection, that the world he lived in was too brutal, too judgmental. But deep down, Ava knew it wasn't protection. It was shame. He was ashamed of her, and love shouldn't feel like shame. The bus came to a slow stop in the middle of Willowridge, her tiny hometown. A town so quiet you could hear secrets fall like leaves. Her mother stood by the bench in a thick brown coat, waving. Ava forced a smile. When she got off, the hug was long, tight, and full of the kind of warmth she forgot she missed. "You're home, baby," her mother whispered. "I don't know what I am anymore," Ava mumbled against her shoulder. Her mom didn't ask questions. She never did. She just brought her daughter home. Back in the city, Ezra wasn't sleeping. He hadn't left the office in 48 hours. His eyes burned from reading every page of that journal. It was filled with her heartbreak, her dreams, the way she would look at him when he wasn't watching. Things he never paid attention to before. And each page was like a dagger to the chest. He thought he had time. Thought she'd always be there, waiting, loyal, hidden in the background of his chaotic empire. He was wrong. His phone buzzed for the 100th time. Board members, clients, a press leak about his health. He didn't care because now the panic was real. Ezra had a condition, something he kept hidden like everything else in his life. A rare form of neurovascular disorder triggered by extreme anxiety and emotional imbalance. Doctors said it was manageable, but not curable, until Ava. It was subtle. Her presence made the episodes stop. He used to joke about it. "You're like my personal Xanax." But now she was gone and the symptoms were flaring. Headaches that blurred his vision, chest pains that came in waves, and the worst part, he couldn't focus. Not on work, not on people, not even on himself. He picked up the photo again, the one from her drawer, the kids in the sunflower field. He remembered now. It was them. They had met once, years ago. Summer camp. He had no idea until now. She remembered all along. His cure didn't just come into his life 3 years ago. She was always there, meant to be, and now he was breaking without her. Ezra opened his laptop, pulled up internal files, traced her emergency contacts. Found a name, Lillian Lane, Willowridge, without. Thinking twice, he booked a flight. Not as a CEO, not as a billionaire, but as a broken man chasing the only thing that ever made him whole. Willowridge was the kind of town where everything moved slower. The sun felt softer, the wind carried the scent of fresh earth, and people still waved at strangers just because. Ezra hated how peaceful it was. Not because he didn't want peace. He just didn't think he deserved it. He stepped out of the black car that had no business being on a dusty, cracked road like this one. His $1,000 shoes collected mud with every step. The townsfolk stared, not with admiration, with suspicion. City folk had a look, and Ezra wore it like a badge. He paused at the white picket fence in front of a modest 2-story home with peeling paint and flower pots on every windowsill. It was so her. Didn't even knock. He stood there like a fool, heart pounding harder than any business deal ever made it beat. Before he could lift a hand to the gate, the front door creaked open, and there she was, Ava, hair tied up in a lazy bun, an old hoodie hugging her frame, and eyes that didn't hide surprise or anger. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The wind did all the talking, whistling through the gap in the fence like it too was holding its breath. "What are you doing here?" she finally said, voice flat and cold. Ezra opened his mouth, but nothing came out. "You shouldn't be here," she added before he could speak. "I had to see you," he said softly, almost like he didn't believe it himself. She stepped onto the porch, arms crossed, keeping the screen door between them. 3 years, Ezra," she said. 3 years of living in the shadows, of pretending we were nothing. And now you show up here in my world like it's nothing." He stepped closer. "It wasn't nothing, Ava. You were never nothing." "Then why did I feel like I was?" Her voice cracked for just a second, but she caught it before the tears came. Why did I have to read my name in a resignation letter while you were too busy making million-dollar calls? He didn't have an answer. He never did when it came to her. His whole life was built on control, strategy, power, but with Ava, he was always at a loss. I was wrong, he said simply, and now I can't breathe without you. Ava looked away. Her fingers clutched the edge of the door, knuckles white. You don't get to say that now. I'm not here to win, Ezra said, voice trembling with something he wasn't used to, humility. I'm here because something's happening. To me, my episodes are back. The doctors think it's psychological, that you were the reason they stopped. Ava blinked. What are you saying? I'm saying I was better when I was with you, not just happier, healthier. I didn't even notice until you left, and now... He paused, swallowing hard. Now I'm not okay. She stared at him for a long moment, heart thudding. She knew he looked paler, thinner. There were dark circles under his eyes that makeup wouldn't cover. His suit was immaculate, but his soul looked frayed. You think I'm your cure? She asked. He nodded slowly. She laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so damn sad. You never wanted me enough to claim me, but now that your body's falling apart, I'm suddenly important. I wanted you, I still want you. I just didn't know how to let you into the part of me that breaks. Well, that's the part I lived in, she said sharply. The broken part. I stayed in it while you walked through life pretending. You were whole. He had no words. A long silence stretched between them. Then she said the last thing he expected. You can stay for dinner. That's it. Ezra looked up, hope flickering behind tired eyes. Really? But after that you leave, she added. No sweet words, no apologies, I've heard them all, just dinner. As two people who used to matter. He nodded. I'll take it. He stepped inside the house that smelled like vanilla and old wood. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. A crack in the door he thought she'd locked forever. The kitchen was warm, filled with the soft sizzle of something frying on the stove. Ezra sat at the small wooden table, too big for the tiny chair, too out of place in his custom suit. He'd taken off the jacket, rolled his sleeves up, and tried to act like he belonged. He didn't. Ava moved around the kitchen without saying much, her motions stiff, mechanical. The smell of garlic and rosemary filled the air, but Ezra couldn't taste anything yet. His mouth was too dry. His nerves were louder than any words between them. Then came the footsteps, slow, steady, familiar to Ava, but foreign to him. Her mother, Lillian. Lane stepped in wearing a faded floral dress and an apron that had more stories in its stains than most people did in their whole lives. Her grey-streaked hair was pinned back, and her eyes narrowed the moment they landed on Ezra. She didn't speak right away. She just looked him up and down like a judge sizing up a defendant. So, she said, voice like gravel rubbed through honey. This is the man who broke my daughter. Ava froze mid-stir. Ezra shifted in his seat. Ava began, but Lillian held up a hand. No. He came to my home, ate my food, sat at my table. He can listen. Ezra didn't flinch. He nodded. I deserve that. Lillian narrowed her eyes. Deserve more than that. He looked her in the eye. You're right. The woman leaned on the counter, arms crossed. You think your money makes you important? You think titles and boardrooms mean something in this house? Here, we don't care how much you earn. We care how much you leave behind when you walk away. Ezra swallowed. I know. I left her behind. Lillian's jaw tightened. She cried. Herself to sleep every other night and still showed up to that office, like she owed you something. My girl gave you her heart, her loyalty, her youth, and you made her a ghost in your life. Ava turned away, blinking too fast. Ezra wanted to speak to defend himself, but what was the point? He had made her a ghost, I was scared, he finally said. Of what she made me feel, of how real it all became. And now, Lillian asked, now I'm scared of living without her. A long silence. Ava placed 2 plates on the table, her hand brushing his by accident. She pulled away fast. Dinner. It was quiet for the first few minutes, just clinking forks and awkward glances. So, Lillian said, breaking the silence, you here to take her back? Ezra paused, looked at Ava, who kept her eyes on her plate. I'm here to earn the right to ask. That made Ava's hand freeze over her fork. She looked up slowly. You think I'm something you just earn? Like a contract? No, he said softly. I think you're the one thing I lost because I never realized I needed you to survive. And now I'm just trying to be near the sun again, even if I don't deserve the warmth. That shut the room up for a good minute. Ava stared at him, tears dangerously close. Her mother blinked but said nothing. For once there was no fight, no bite left in her. Dinner ended quietly. Later, after Lillian excused herself for the night, Ava walked Ezra out to the porch. You say a lot of pretty things now, she whispered, but I needed them then. I know, I'm not asking for you to fix everything. I can't, he admitted, but I can try to stop breaking what matters. They stood there, breathing the night in. Stars scattered the sky like the one thing money couldn't touch. Then Ava said something he didn't expect. You said I was your cure. He nodded slowly. You are. Funny, she whispered, stepping back, because being with you almost killed me. And just like that, the door closed. Not with hate, not with finality, but with pain that still had no place to go. The next morning, Ava found him sitting at the edge of the town's only park, on a bench with chipped paint, next to an empty coffee cup from the local diner. He looked like he hadn't slept, like he'd spent the night wrestling with ghosts no one else could see. She didn't say anything at first, just walked past him, heading to the corner store for errands. She didn't expect him to follow, but he did. Not right away. But after a few seconds she heard the sound of his shoes behind her. Still too polished for a town like this, still too him. You don't give up easy, do you? She said, without looking back. I never had to fight for something that wasn't. Business, Ezra replied. Turns out I'm not as good at this as I thought, Ava sighed. You don't have to follow me. I know. Then why are you? He stopped walking. Because I'm still broken. She turned slowly. And that's my problem. Why? He didn't answer right away. Just looked at her. Really looked at her. You made me better, he said, voice rough. And I made you feel worse. I know that's not fair. I don't expect forgiveness. I didn't want you to think I ever stopped caring. Ava swallowed hard. Her arms crossed, but not in anger this time. In defense. You don't know what those nights were like, Ezra. You don't know what it felt like to hear your name in the hallway and have to pretend my heart wasn't racing. To smile at people who called me a nobody while I hid the truth every damn day. His jaw clenched. I know now. I've read every page of that journal. You had no right to read that, she snapped. I had no right to a lot of things, he said. But I did. And it gutted me. Ava looked away, biting her lip. Her eyes shimmered, but the tears didn't fall. I lost myself trying to love you in silence, she said quietly. And now that I've found pieces of me again, I'm scared you'll just take them back. I won't, he said. You say that now. Then test me. Her brows pulled together. What? I'm not going back to the city, Ezra said. Not yet, she blinked. You... What? I'm staying here for a while. You'll hate it. I already hate being without you more. Ava stared at him, stunned. You're not built for this place. You don't even know how to survive without a boardroom and a staff to answer your calls. Then I'll learn. She shook her head slowly, laughing under her breath. And what? You think I'll just fall back into your arms once you help? Milk cows and chop wood or whatever romantic fantasy you've built up about earning me back. No, he said. I think I'll fall flat on my face trying to understand your world. And maybe, just maybe, I'll earn the right to be in it. Her lips parted, but no words came. For the first time, she didn't see the man in the suit. She saw the boy from the sunflower photo, the one she remembered from that summer camp all those years ago, the one who used to get in trouble for stealing snacks just to make her laugh, and it scared her, because that boy had her heart before she even knew what love meant. Fine, she said quietly. Stay. Ezra's eyes widened. Really? But not for me, she added sharply. Not to win me back. If you're here to fix yourself, then do that, but don't make me your crutch. I'm not your rehab center, Ezra. I'm a person. He nodded slowly. I understand. She stepped back. Then start acting like it. Rent a place. Get a job. Live here without using your name to cheat your way through it. Then maybe I'll believe you're serious. He didn't say anything, but there was a glint in his eye, something tired but determined, and for the first time in years, Ava walked away without feeling like she was being left behind. Because this time, he stayed. It didn't take long for the town to start whispering. Ezra Cole, the billionaire CEO of Cole Industries, was spotted hauling crates behind Wilson's feed store, sweating through a plain cotton shirt and trying, and failing, to start. An old pickup truck that coughed smoke like it was dying. It was the kind of gossip that Willow Ridge thrived on. Some said he was having a breakdown. Others claimed he was hiding from a scandal. But Ava, she knew the truth. He was trying. And somehow that pissed her off more than anything. He rented the smallest place he could find, an upstairs unit above the bakery that always smelled like burnt cinnamon rolls. The water ran brown for the first 3 days, and the heater groaned like it had arthritis. He didn't complain. He took a job at the local hardware store, where old men in flannel laughed every time he asked what a ratchet was. He didn't storm out. He asked again. He learned to fix leaks, stock shelves, clean bathrooms, and do it all while pretending he wasn't used to people holding doors open for him. The suit was gone, replaced with jeans that didn't fit right and shirts with rolled-up sleeves. His hands were starting to roughen. His pride. That had been peeled back like layers of an old wall, cracked, exposed, and unprotected. Ava watched from a distance, sometimes from across the street, sometimes from the diner, where he sat, alone nursing coffee that tasted like regret. She didn't talk to him often. Just short nods, occasional hellos. No softness, not yet. But she saw the way he helped her elderly neighbor fix a broken fence, even when it meant cutting his hand on rusted nails. She saw him walk to work in the rain instead of asking for a ride. She saw the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching. Not hungry, not desperate, just sorry. And for the first time in months, the ache in her chest stopped feeling like rage. One evening, Ava stood at the edge of the field behind her house, watching the sun melt into the hills. She heard footsteps behind her. She didn't turn. She didn't need to. "Didn't think you'd come back this way," she said softly. "I wasn't planning to," Ezra replied. "Town says you broke their forklift today," he chuckled under his breath. "Apparently, pushing random buttons doesn't fix things." She let the silence settle before asking, "Why are you really doing this?" "I told you," he said, "and to fix myself." "Yeah, but why here? Why near me?" He hesitated. "Because being near you still makes me want to be better." Ava turned to face him. The wind caught her hair, and the way he looked at her, it was different now, less possession, more reverence, like she was something he finally understood he never truly deserved, but still hoped for. "You look different," she said. "I feel different. Less shiny." "Less hollow," he replied. They stood there for a while, in the middle of golden light and old wounds. Then Ava said quietly, "I'm still not ready." "I know. I don't trust you. You shouldn't. Not yet. But—" She paused. "I believe you're trying." He nodded slowly. "I'll keep trying." And with that she turned and walked back toward the house. This time she didn't shut the door behind her. She left it cracked, just a little. Ezra stood there long after she disappeared, watching the sky fade into dusk. He wasn't healed, he wasn't forgiven, but for the first time, he wasn't unwanted. And that was enough for now. The town had adjusted to Ezra's presence. The whispers faded. He became part of the background noise, the guy who stocked screws and fixed things without needing a receipt. He still kept to himself mostly, except when he'd catch Ava walking home from the bakery and offer to carry her bag. She'd let him sometimes. Other times she'd shake her head with a faint smile, like she didn't want to let him think it meant something. But it did. He could feel the difference. The way she laughed a little now. The way her voice softened when she told him about her day. The way she didn't flinch when he sat beside her at the town fair, watching fireworks light the sky like forgotten dreams catching fire. Something was coming back. Not the love they used to have, something quieter, something real. And then his past found him, It came in the form of a sleek black car parked outside the hardware store. A man in a tailored suit stepped out, sunglasses reflecting the sleepy town like it disgusted him. Ezra recognized him immediately. Mason Hart, his executive assistant, the mouthpiece of Cole Industries. "Jesus, Ezra," Mason muttered as he looked around. "You're living in this?" Ezra wiped his hands on a towel. "What do you want?" "New York's falling apart without you. Stocks are dipping, clients are nervous. And your father? He's preparing a statement to say you're on medical leave if you don't come back within the week." "I'm not coming back," Mason blinked. "You're serious?" Ezra nodded. "Dead serious." "You'd throw away everything? For what? A girl who didn't even attend your last 3 galas?" Ezra stepped closer. "Watch how you talk about her." Mason held up his hands. "Fine, fine. Just... Look, man, this isn't you. You don't belong here." Ezra looked down at his rough hands, calloused fingers. "Then back up. Maybe this is the only place I ever belonged," Mason scoffed. "You sound like a damn Hallmark movie. Then get off my set." The car pulled away minutes later, dust clouding the air. But the damage was already done, because Ava had seen it. She stood across the street, a grocery bag in hand, her expression unreadable. She'd heard enough to recognize the name Cole, enough to know he was being pulled back into the world that broke her heart. That night, she knocked on his door. He opened it, surprised. She stepped inside without waiting. "You didn't tell. They came for you." He closed the door behind her. "Didn't want to scare you." "I'm not scared, I'm just..." She paused. "You said you were trying. You said you were choosing to be here." "I am." "But for how long?" Her voice trembled. "Until the company gets worse. Until they offer you a raise, or until the world you ran from shows up with shiny promises again." Ezra stepped closer. "I chose you, Ava. I'm choosing you every single day." "Then why does it still feel like you've got one foot in a world I'll never belong to?" His silence said more than any defense could. Ava looked away, blinking hard. "I can't go through this again, Ezra. I can't love you while waiting for the day you realize you miss the Empire more than me. I'm not going back." "But what if it's not your choice next time?" she asked. "What if your father forces your hand? What if the board removes you unless you return? What if one day you wake up and realize you can't keep pretending to be someone else?" Ezra reached for her hand. She let him hold it. "Just for a second, then pulled away. Until you figure out who you are without them. Don't ask me to figure out what we are." She walked out with the same quiet strength she'd always had. And Ezra. He stood in the doorway, realizing that healing isn't just about proving you've changed. It's about proving you won't change back. 3 weeks passed. Ezra stayed. He didn't chase Ava, didn't send flowers, didn't flood her phone with messages or show up uninvited. He respected the space she asked for, even though every day without her felt like trying to breathe through a cracked window in a burning house. He worked, ate alone, walked the same. Streets passed the same faces. But something had changed. He was different. The man who used to wear his worth in dollars now wore it in bruised knuckles, morning shifts, and quiet restraint. The man who used to take what he wanted now waited and wondered if he'd ever be worthy of wanting again. He didn't know if she'd ever come back. But he was okay with waiting, because for once, he wasn't trying to fix himself for her. He was doing it for him. Then, one rainy Thursday morning, she showed up at the hardware store. Hair damp, hoodie clinging to her frame, eyes uncertain. He was behind the counter, wiping down tools, when she stepped in. He looked up, heart in his throat. "Ava, saw your interview," she said, voice soft. He blinked. "What interview?" She pulled her phone from her pocket, showing a video, a leaked clip from a shareholder meeting, his resignation speech, one he never planned for her to hear. "I'm stepping down indefinitely," he had said, standing before a room full of stiff suits and frozen faces. "Not because I've lost my ability to lead, but because I've finally found the courage to live. I built an empire by pretending I wasn't broken, and it cost me everything. I won't keep building if it means bleeding people along the way." The video ended. Ava tucked her phone away. Why didn't you tell me? Ezra stepped around the counter, heart pounding. Because this isn't about gestures anymore, or speeches. I didn't want to win you with words. I wanted to show you who I was without the world handing me power. She looked up at him, tears in her eyes. And who are you now? He took a breath, voice low. I'm still figuring it out, but I know one thing for sure. He stepped closer. I'm not whole without you. Not because I need you to fix me, but because when I'm near you, I remember what it feels like to be real, to be human. Ava didn't respond right away. She stepped into him, slow and unsure, then rested her head against his chest. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her like something fragile, something sacred, like if he squeezed too hard, the moment might vanish. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. What if we fall apart again, then we build something stronger? They stood in silence, wrapped in rain and forgiveness. The kind of forgiveness that didn't forget the pain, but decided to carry it together. Later that night, they walked through the sunflower field just outside town, the same one from the photo she kept hidden all those years. The one where a little boy and girl once laughed under golden skies without knowing life would one day tear them apart. And somehow, after all the mistakes, the silence, the suffering, they found each other again. Not in the way they used to be, but in the way people do when they finally learn what love really means. It wasn't shiny, it wasn't perfect, it was real, and this time that was enough. The end.